Fata. Fata.
Initials SS from London, UK. Since some opinions can evolve due to us learning more as we grow, can we assert them if we're currently convinced and confident of them?
Question from London. Since certain opinions and views can evolve, can we say them and assert them in a confident or definite way, even though we may not be sure we may change in the future, so on and so forth? That's a question, correct? Question in a nutshell? That's the question, right? طيب. I know him. That's what a wise man once said. He said the only thing guaranteed in this world is change. The only thing guaranteed in this world is what?
Yeah.
Change. And that's also a type of what? That's a change. And death is a what? That's the ultimate change. You change from the fake world to the what?
Real world.
That's the ultimate change. So obviously we know certain things don't change, but many things what? Do. So when it comes to studying and learning, there are certain things which are never ever to change. And if they do change, then unfortunately it can be a means of misguidance after guidance or blindness after sight. And there are other things in the religion with regards to you studying and researching and coming across which can change and should change. And certain things must change because change is a sign of growth and development. But you don't grow and develop and become mature in everything. No, there are certain principles and certain rulings which remain from the first day that you learned them. There is no theory that evolves into something else with regards to certain things. So it depends on exactly what you mean, huh? You talking about issues of ijtihad? Of course, you should change to the better, for the better. You should look, you should research, you should debate, you should study, you should shorten your grip and sharpen your blade. Of course. But there are other things of ijma' in which there is no changing. And then of course you can get a greater depth of the consensus, a better understanding of the consensus. Read the proper source of where the consensus was narrated. Or you may discover certain things in which there's no consensus at all. There is no ijma'. It was never ijma'. But you read 10 years ago that there was ijma'. In actuality, there what? There wasn't ijma'. So it depends on what you mean. And this is one of the reasons why you should always be balanced and moderate. Be balanced and be moderate. If you tell someone something, if you give someone a piece of information, be moderate. And the whole ideology of just being gung-ho and just going full speed ahead on every single issue in which a person's knowledge is limited close to none has caused a great deal of commotion and destruction. And not only does it cause commotion and destruction, but also it's embarrassing. And this is why we read the kalam of Shaykh Hussain Tayyah some months back. We were introducing to the book Ad-Durar min Kalam Shaykh al-Islam fi Majmu' al-Fatawa wal-Mustadrak alayh, about how you find the people of the different groups and schisms always contradicting themselves. And in one place they're super strong on an issue, and then in the next place they're totally against that issue and saying that the person who says that is a kafir or misguided and so on and so forth. You find that today. This is what I feel, this is the dalil, this is what I read, what I studied. No! And then tomorrow, they're doing the exact what? Opposite. Something's wrong. So not only does it cause commotion and destruction and it just messes people up, but it makes you look like a fool. It makes you look like an utter fool. How many times have we seen and heard this? I thought the brother was such and such. You went gung-ho and praising him, now you're going gung-ho and what? You look stupid. And it looks like you just speak off the top of your what? You know, whatever just pops up and comes up. That's why I say slow down. Take your time, young man. This is wise wisdom in that. Don't rush what? It's very important, Wallahu alam.
Initials SS from London, UK. On the issue of moon sighting, is staying with the Jama'ah more important than being right? If so, why can't this mindset be applicable in other matters in deen? And how can it apply to scholars?
Questions from London. with regards to the moon sighting? Is sticking to the jama'ah more important than the accuracy of a view? It's permissible, it's impermissible, to use the calculation, the moon wasn't sighted, so on and so on and so forth. If that's true, why isn't this applied to other aspects of the religion? And what is it applicable to scholars? That's a very good question. And those who take that view that we should just go with Saudi or go with Pakistan or go with Turkey or go with Timbuktu, go with this place, go with that place, even though it's not our time zone or we feel differently, stick with the Jama'ah, keep the unity of the Muslims, you have to ask them that question. You have to what? Ask them that question, okay? In which the concept of keeping the body of the Muslims together and compromising, listen to my words carefully, okay? Certain things and certain issues. Nothing from the core issues. Nothing which is clear dalil against. Something that's clearly wrong. But we're talking about issues in which that's not the case. Compromising what? Certain issues, I said, for the concept of unity, for the concept of a greater maslaha, a benefit, which is an impact. It's going to be a benefit you doing this and saying this and going there. Then you have to ask those people who make those claims. And obviously, they make hypocrisy and they make double and triple standards. They say, stick with the Jama'ah here, stop the fighting, oh, we'll just go with this sighting. But in another issue, and it could be the most trivial issue, or it could be an issue of ijtihad, you find them the furthest from it. Split up the Muslims, stay away from them, leave them alone because of the one what? Issue. That doesn't make what? That's not consistent. That's not consistent. So it's not just about unity of the Muslims. It could be a benefit of da'wah. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions when the Prophet ﷺ took the silk garment from the king and he put it on. What's the rule on wearing pure silk? He took it and he put it on because it was a major maslahah with regards to this person, Islam in this country, so on and so forth. Al-Muhim, maslahah and mafsada. There's no doubt about that. You must weigh between pros and cons. And those who say that there's no such thing as weighing between pros and cons, it's just this, that, then these people, they lack knowledge. They lack common sense. They lack maturity. And only Allah knows the sincerity that they may lack. Were these people sent to destroy the Muslims, to ruin the Muslims, to destroy the Sunnah and the da'wah to the Sunnah? Only Allah knows the corruption that they have done and that they have made and the minds that they have poisoned with their ignorance, their lack of balance, their bigotry, their fanaticism, and their poor scholastic behavior. They just take one statement, one this, one that, and then leave everything off and then force it upon someone else. So it's a very good question. When do you leave off the specific proof and evidence, the unity of the Muslims? Is it permissible to just go with the local moon sighting because of the unity? Is it permissible to go with the international sighting because of the unity? A very important question. Jazakallah khair. And you have to ask those who don't have details. As for me, us, we don't what? We don't have these issues, alhamdulillah, of detail. This situation we say what? Yes. In that situation we say what? Say no, depending on the situation. You have to ask those who everything is black and white. You have to ask them that question. Wallahu alam. Does it apply to scholars? You have to ask those people who make that black and white ruling. Don't take anything from them. Take everything from them. You have to what? You have to ask them that.
AB from Brooklyn, New York. Assalamu alaikum. Do you have any recommended books for the layman that is a new Muslim that has a busy work schedule?
A layman Muslim who has a busy work schedule, what books would you recommend for them? A new Muslim. Read the Quran. Small pieces. Read a page a day, 2 pages a day. Read for 30 minutes a day. And it's not a condition that you have to understand everything in the Quran. That's not a condition that you have to understand every single thing that you read and encompass everything. That's not a what? It's not a condition. But the spirituality that you get, the questions that will be brought up, countless benefits of reading the Quran as a new Muslim. And it doesn't mean that everything you're going to understand, nor does it mean that you take everything, you implement it, and you just go and start doing it. It doesn't mean that. No one but a fool will behave like that. To read something and just have no knowledge and just, it doesn't work like that. Okay? So, first and foremost is, take something large or big and what? Break it down into smaller pieces. Secondly is, if you're a layman Muslim, you have a busy work schedule, it is upon you to sacrifice the time for your soul. It is upon you to sacrifice the time for your soul. You have to make some time to read. I don't care how busy you are, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes is not going to kill you. Okay, you go to the gym, you go play video games, you go sit out on a sidewalk cafe at nighttime, the nightlife, you do this. Text, so you can make time what? To study. So the Quran is the foundation. Read a hadith a day as a new Muslim. If you have a confused, you don't understand, go to your local masjid. Ask your local resident scholar, what does this hadith mean? The Prophet used a toothstick. What's a toothstick? What is that? What do you mean use the toothstick before you make wudu? What is that? That the shaitan does this. Ask questions. As far as the books that are made for the new Muslims, alhamdulillah, there are many books, countless books you can find in the bookstores that are geared just towards a layman Muslim, just towards a what? A new Muslim. The beauties of Islam. Ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah. The beauties of Islam. Mahasin ad-Din, Beauties of the religion of Islam. Perfect book. And there are many, many, many other books. Faddal, next question.
Initials SE from Munich, Germany. What is the ruling on following a different prayer timetable for the month of Ramadan? Where Fajr time is 30 minutes later, do we have to always stick to one timetable / calculation method?
Question comes from Munich, Germany. Sticking to one timetable versus switching timetables. In the month of Ramadan, Fajr is 30 minutes later, so on and so forth. It depends on why. Why are you switching? Are you switching because you have a new app or new phone, or you're confused, or you met a new person? Or are you switching to give yourself more time to eat and to drink? What are you switching for? There has to be a reason why you're switching. And it can't be based off of desires. I'm switching because this prayer table is more convenient for me. I'm switching because I need more time to sleep or more time to eat. It depends on why you're switching. All right? It depends on why you're switching. There are rules to following. There are rules to blind following. And those rules are not meant to be violated. And one of the violations, or one of those rules that are being broken and violated, is following things based off of your desires. Doing it one day and switching another day. Not because you feel differently or because you met a new knowledgeable person, but because it suits your desires, and that's the only reason why. And Allah knows best.
So OA from Riyadh, King of Saudi Arabia. What does the ayah about qital being ordained while it is hateful to you mean? In the light of the other ayah about those who hated what Allah revealed and their deeds were made worthless.
Question comes from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. What does it mean with regards to kutiba alaykum al-qital wa huwa kurhun lakum? Ordained upon you is fighting, even though it's hated to you. How do we understand that with regards to the other ayats in which Allah Azza wa Jal mentions karihu ridwanahu? They disliked Allah's good pleasure. They hated what Allah sent down, and their deeds were rendered null and void. For someone to hate Allah's legislation and to hate the fact that Allah sent it down and to be displeased with Allah's ordainments, that's kufr akbar. That's not the same as a person being pleased with what Allah has sent down, but it's something which is difficult and burdensome, such as the loss of life. People being naturally inclined towards living longer. I don't want to die, but if I have to, I will. It's a huge difference between the two. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to do this. I want to go home and see my family, so on and so forth. But if it calls for that, for me to sacrifice my life for Allah's cause, so be it. It's a huge difference between the two. Huge difference between the two. All right? Such as the natural feeling of pain. It's naturally something which is painful and hurtful to someone to get a sword pushed into their chest. That doesn't mean that a person hates the legislation of fighting in Allah's cause. There's a huge difference between the two. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials MI from Birmingham, UK. Assalamu alaikum. If a woman begins her menses at the time of iftar, is that fast accepted? Should one write down missed days as a reference in case of death?
With regards to a woman beginning her menses at the time of iftar, wa alaikum salam, does that day count? It depends on what you mean at the time of iftar. If Tara's done, the adhan was made, and then she got her menstruation, inshallah, the day is good. You got your menstruation at 6 o'clock or 7:30, 30 minutes before the adhan, different story. But no matter what the case is, you won't be, it won't be a waste, bi'idhnillah. Even if you have to make up the day, you get the reward for doing most of the day, inshallah. But if you bleed during the daytime, and it's still the daytime, your fasting is now invalidated. It's invalidated. As far as a woman writing down the days as a reference for death and so on and so forth, then if you have a problem memorizing something or remembering something, then write it down, inshallah, for making it up, whether you're alive or for the fear of when a person dies and they leave this world. Do you make up the days missed for a woman who missed days because of menstruation? Do you even have to make those days up? Wallah.
That says from London, UK, are the hadiths on the virtues of being a hafiz reliable, such as the parents wearing a crown on Yom Qiyamah, taking a number of people to Jannah, and not being eaten in the grave, etc.?
So be our last question tonight. With regards to, are the hadiths about being a hafiz of the Quran reliable, such as the parents being put or being given a crown to wear, being free from the punishment of the grave, things on the Day of Judgment, so on and so forth? Yes and no. Of course, there are many authentic hadiths about the virtues of memorizing and studying and learning and teaching the Quran. And there are many hadiths which are weak and fabricated. Some of them may be some of which you have mentioned. And there are certain hadiths of which some of the ulama of Islam, they differ with regards to, is it hasan or is it da'if? Rather, there's some hadiths which the ulama of Islam, they differ whether they're hasan or mawdu', such as Ibn al-Jawzi and as-Suyuti. Ibn al-Jawzi says the hadith is fabricated, spurious. And as-Suyuti, rahimahullah, comes along and he says rather it's hasan. Okay? So there are many hadiths about the Quran, memorizing it, certain surahs, certain ayat, which are totally made up, no doubt. And there are some which are weak. And it's clear they're weak. And there are some which are weak, but the ulama of Islam, they do what? They differ. They differ over the tahseen or the tad'if of the hadith. Rather, I said the tahseen and the what? Saying this is what mawdu'. They differ over this. At the end of the day, he who memorizes the Quran sincerely for Allah, recites it, reads it sincerely for Allah, teaches it sincerely for Allah, is from the best of the best. And the Messenger of Allah, he said in the authentic narration that one of the people you are allowed to have envy for is one who Allah has given the Quran, and he recites it in the day and in the night. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. The last thing that I will say as a notice is sincerity. Check your intentions, right? Walaikum salam. And many parents, unfortunately, they may fall into things, with regards to their child being a hafiz. Why do you want your child to be a hafiz? For the reward from Allah, the honor, or just for it to be said, status. My son is hafiz. My son is hafiz Quran. Your son doesn't pray, but he's hafiz Quran. You don't pray, you're hafiz Quran. It's a problem. Okay? And it's not taking away anything from anybody, but we're trying to make a point here. Or making hajj. Why are you making hajj? Haji. You're happy, you're grateful, you're proud that you made the hajj, you made the pilgrimage, or just for the title and the name and the status. And there lies no doubt many countries that you go to, you guys may see it as a small thing, but it's a big, huge thing being a haji. A big thing. It's well known in the village, the town, it's on your business. Haji, brother, fulan. It's this title like doctor. It's a big thing. And the same applies to being a hafiz of the Quran. Okay, so we have to have the proper intentions for hajj, the proper intentions for reading and studying the Quran and memorizing the Quran. And there lies no doubt, when you read the Quran, you memorize it, as some of the best and greatest things to do. There's no question about it.